South Jersey bad boys. South Jersey bad boys.
South Jersey bad boys.
Wow.
Damn. That was probably the best one we've had so far. 78 episodes, and we nailed it.
Dude, it's a true director, though. You knew the clap instinctually.
I thought you were syncing
He was.
cameras.
He usually does.
Yeah. We'll just run with this, though. That's a great... We can't get a better synchronization of the melody there than that.
Yeah.
Nice. Well done.
But yeah, like we were saying, people will think that we're serious with the name South Jersey Bad Boys. And I'm like, we sing South Jersey Bad Boys at the beginning of the pod.
Yeah.
Do you think we legitimately think that we're like these?
Do you guys have an intro song? Or is that it?
Yeah, we do. We have one. Another friend of the pod, Fiddled with AI, got us a little beat with some of us going South Jersey Bad Boys.
We're looking for a new one.
I was thinking like
we got to change it up. We
New
got a
Kids
new
on the Block, Hanging Tough.
Yes,
There we go.
Maybe for this one, you
That
could
would be
end
tight.
it with that. I don't know if that's a copyright.
Yeah, we could throw it in. YouTube's not sponsoring us yet anyway. What was the thing that you wanted to mix it with when you initially asked Rob?
We have a buddy Rob who's good at making some musical intros. He's very musically talented, and I was like, if you could like mix the Bad Boys theme song with like an Al Green vibe.
Yeah.
Like,
oh,
dude,
right, because it's Bad Boys the cop.
Cops theme.
Yeah.
That's what we originally started with. We were just playing the Bad Boys theme song at the beginning and the end.
But then we started singing it, and then we kind of made it into our own little jingle.
Yeah, and now I'm a part of that.
Now you
Exactly.
are. Yeah. We got to introduce our esteemed guest over here.
That's
let
right.
people
Michael
know.
Ryan Fagan, thank you for joining the pod.
Yeah.
Pleasure to
Thanks
be
for jumping
in
on.
your basement.
You were like, when are you going to invite me on South Jersey Bad Boys?
I
I'm
did
like,
invite myself onto this podcast. I will be very transparent about that.
Well, I'm like, normally, I'm like, you can come on anytime you want.
Yeah.
I'm like, we don't have...
This was 2 days ago.
Perfect. It lined right up. We were just going to
squeeze you right in, dude.
We were going to meet and record tonight anyway. We go back and forth. We'll have a guest on a couple times in a row.
Yeah.
Then Brendan and I will just sit here and flick each other's dicks. Then we bring other folks on. So it lined up really well.
I just assume people won't want to do it, so I don't ask.
I think people want to do. People like to hear themselves talk.
Yeah.
True.
Myself included.
Yeah.
And you can literally hear yourself talk when you have these.
You literally listen to it. Then you can go back and watch the episode.
I would
all the
almost
clips.
say, try to invite people on and see how crazy you can get it. Like you should have. I know we can't get Cindy here in person.
Yeah.
But I bet you can get somebody like Cindy to be here. Although I don't know if you want them in your home.
Well, I would invite anybody in this house. I don't.
Okay.
I only got one thing to lose, and it's that woman upstairs. And she can go at any point.
Has she been on the show?
Oh yeah,
She actually, she'll guest host for me sometimes if I can't fill in, if like my kid's sick or something.
She wants to be a permanent like co-host though. She wants to come
Maybe
on
a
here
spinoff.
Yeah, but she wants to do a spinoff.
She's talked about a spinoff.
Yeah.
She wants to do one of wives and girlfriends of stand-up comedians or something. So she just wants to come on here and talk shit. Just let it loose.
Yeah. She honestly does kill it though. Anytime she comes on, because she just starts like grilling Dan, just making him look like a piece of shit.
We see a
and it's
noticeable
the best.
shift in the demographics from listeners as well. The women really come on board when she jumps in here.
Yeah, we probably have the least amount of female listeners of any podcast out there.
Yeah,
I mean, we don't really know what our listener base really is.
I know the numbers behind it. I'm autistic as shit with that. I know the demos. We got 25 to 34, about 80% male.
But see, then where does a woman like Sydney find us and come in? That's the confusing part.
I think she found us in the YouTube algorithm because we started putting out some UFO and some alien stories.
yeah.
And if you watch enough of that, you get recommendations.
Right.
And one of our clips, as you might have saw it, we put the phone number to our hotline in the description.
And
of
that
every
number
YouTube.
is
856-617-4626. Give us a
what's
ring.
in your ass.
Yeah, we had a bit where we would tell people to tell us what's in their ass this week, and we got multiple voicemails about different items.
Speaking of finding one another, though, let's jump right into it.
Let's
of
do
our
it.
origin story. I'll let you go first of how we kind of linked up here, and I'll confirm or deny whether this is my idea.
I direct commercials. I focus on comedy. That's like my niche. I did a commercial with Alyssa Abraham.
Yes.
Who I think is probably the funniest, besides you,
She's great.
one of the funniest people I've ever worked with. And I remember when I was shooting this commercial, I was like, she's going to be like Megan McCarthy level, like after Megan McCarthy did, was it Knocked Up? Or no, This Is 40?
Bridesmaids, maybe?
Bridesmaids.
Yeah.
I was just like,
She
she
did This Is 42. Sorry to cut you off.
it was one of those movies where you were like, who is this person?
Yeah.
So I think she's going to be absolutely huge. And I've been friends with her. We've been Instagram friends. And I think she posted something that you did, and a lot of times I will, because you guys are both stand-ups, I will follow somebody to be like, I don't know what I could work with them on, but I know there'll be something 4 months from now or 6 weeks or whatever.
Love that.
And so I followed you because of that. And then when this commercial for this bank came up, I was like, hey, we need this douchey guy who's a real piece of shit.
Dude, it's right up my alley.
To be, originally the pitch was, I'm imagining the 27 people have heard about this commercial. Maybe Cindy's watching it right now.
Yeah.
This is big news in the Donegan household.
Okay.
The commercial, dude.
And there's 27 of them in one house.
You saw me posting about life after the commercial. Things have changed for me, dude.
So, the idea was he was supposed to be like a really douchey Gordon Gekko with like stripes and stuff, and the client was just like, yeah, he can be like kind of mean, but we don't want him to be like Wall Street because their clientele isn't like high frequency trading. It was more just like jerk people that, I don't know,
like bad customer service.
Yeah, like Bank of America has a normal guy who just doesn't have their stuff together.
Yeah.
And so we did a casting call for, and there's probably a guy that you know. What's his name? He's in so many things. He's maybe a little bit older than you. White guy.
Stand-up comic? Or?
He doesn't do stand-up, but he's like literally in every commercial. I'll look it up we can add it into the notes.
Well, I'm not exactly plugged into the Actors Network. I mean, this is like the biggest thing I've ever booked.
He's a very funny guy, and his audition was perfect.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, this guy's it. And the client was like, yeah, he's in other commercials. This is a problem that some actors have. He's in too many things.
Wow. So that's really actually worked out for me.
That worked out for you. Yeah. So he was like, yeah, he's in other stuff. And especially if you're in another bank commercial, it's a problem.
Ooh.
And so we kind of needed to go back to the drawing board as far as like who was going to play this character. And we asked an agency in town to send us their people. You were not in that list.
Dude, what the fuck, Ryan?
I know. And I was just like, why is he not here? Because I sent it to you, and I think it was because you didn't have anything that was on video that was like this.
Yeah.
And a lot of times these clients are very literal. They're like, we just want to see them do what we're trying to do.
Wait, didn't we shoot a sketch with you playing the exact guy?
Yeah, and I think the one that you saw that Alyssa reposted was actually not that. But as you're talking about this, we wrote and made our own sketch like 4 or 5 years ago where I play a dumbass financial advisor.
That's perfect.
Which I'll show you after the pod.
I thought that's where we were going with this.
It is literally the character that I played for this. So it's like the fact that you even saw that from what Alyssa reposted too, because that was like pretty much the same, little slightly different. Yeah. But I'm like, I've already done this before.
Perfect.
So it worked out.
Yeah, and so
you have a vision, my friend.
Well, I saw what you were doing. I was like, oh, it's something a little different. And it's a little dangerous, meaning like as far as like they might not go for it. But I think like a lot of times these commercials can be so boring, and not to get in like the nitty gritty of this specific commercial. But I did a thing with Vinny Pastore from The Sopranos a couple years ago.
Okay, yeah.
When I moved to Philadelphia, it was like the first Philadelphia thing that I did.
Gotcha.
And it was like it got a decent reception. But he did something in that commercial that was just such a small little thing. As I was watching him rehearse, he played the Gabagool for Dietz and Watson.
Yep.
And he did this thing where he was like trying these robes on, and just for us to see on camera, and he would turn around to show us because he was like trying to hide the fact that he was naked underneath it. Yeah. And I was like, oh, you should do that in the commercial.
Yeah.
And so I saw that in something you posted where I was like, oh, we should do something like that. That makes it just a little bit more interesting. And I think it was the just the mannerisms that made it, because you have like 3 seconds on screen, maybe 5 seconds.
Yep.
You have to make those like little seconds count because whether it's a joke or whether it's heartfelt or whatever, 30 seconds is not like you have 2 hours or 90 minutes.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So I don't remember what it was that you did, but it was that little thing that I was just like, oh, there's something fun there.
It's so interesting, like on the other end of that, when you're trying to figure out what the fuck you send in on some of these audition tapes, because it's so hard to predict somebody like yourself of like what instinctively do they pick up on that is what they need.
Yeah, I would say this is not, I don't know how many actors are going to listen to this, but maybe this is for you guys. Do you do any auditioning?
I've done sketches,
We've
but
done our own.
Yeah, we've done our own. I haven't been in anything like that, but
I always say to actors, just do something different. Because like when we get the thing from you, there's 40 other people who we're going to watch 30 seconds of, And if you're just doing your own thing, that's what makes like this actress Alyssa so great, is that she's just herself, but she kind of just goes to 11 with it and just does something that's a little different. Yeah. And I think you did that, and it made it, when we're watching 20 people do the exact same line over, and these pretzels are making me thirsty. It's like you say the same thing over and over again. If you do it a little different and you kind of put your mark on it, it separates you from everybody else.
That's interesting, man. And it's so, thank God for Alyssa, because that is kind of what I thought of how we cross paths. But the little behind the scenes of that is, so when I first met Alyssa, I didn't even know she was an actress. She's also bartends at New York Comedy Club where I work a lot. And then we started talking because she dates John, who's a stand-up comedian from around here.
Representing Collingswood. Yeah, I believe he lives half a block away from a pretzel factory.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Who's that? Who does she date?
John Keller.
Okay.
Taproom, fellow comedian extraordinaire.
Yeah. He's a comedian?
Yeah.
Oh, wait, is this the ex-boyfriend? We might be airing too much Alyssa.
Well, as far as I'm aware...
He lives in Collingswood?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I think so.
Does he work for like the town doing water supply or something during the day?
That I don't know.
I don't know. I know his name. I definitely have seen him at Mike's, but
shorter guy.
Yes.
Male American average.
Yeah, I didn't know that he also did stand up.
Yeah, well, he just started. I probably within the last year or so.
Oh, okay.
I've only ever seen him at Mike's.
He's fairly new.
Oh, cool.
And he comes to the open mic that our buddies run all the time. So we get to talk and blah blah blah. I know Alyssa. One of the other managers of New York Comedy Club is also an actor, Zach Watson, great guy. He just hits me up and goes, "Hey, I have this like sketch idea that I'm putting together. Do you want to come up for it?" At first, I'm kind of like, it's far to go up to New York to do it. I don't have a lot of time between shows, the baby, the day job, blah blah blah. But I'm like, you know what? Zach's super funny. Fuck it, I'll do it. That's the thing that I think Alyssa reposted that you saw.
Yeah.
And then I get my first legitimate commercial booking out of it.
That's crazy.
What a world, dude.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Well, things happen for a reason. You know?
And that's why a lot of people want to do more than like being reserved and closed off the stuff. The more you do, the more chances you get in being in front of people, getting eyeballs on you. And I feel like all that kind of pans out.
You also like just have to be a good dude and a good person.
Yeah.
And like people will remember that, because I lost a job. This is really how it goes even crazier is and it connects to what you're just saying. Like, we're not sitting here if this story didn't happen, and it's like a long story, but I'll do the super short version. Sure. I lost a job for this like veterinarian franchise commercial thing. Was kind of bummed that I didn't get it, but I sent a message to the producer. I was like, "Hey, I'm sorry that we lost this. I wish we could have won it. Blah blah blah." It was like, hopefully we can get him on the next one. Knowing full well they probably weren't going to bring me on for anything.
Yeah.
But it's just let's keep it a good vibe going. And so this was like 2021, like COVID's kind of like going away a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's super slow commercially though, because everything's like very serious, because there's a million people are dead. The comedy world is kind of like, the comedy spots are going away.
Yeah.
It's more serious, like,
this is what we're doing to strengthen our community.
We're helping we get vaccinated. And so like it was very slow. And it was like probably the worst. This is where it gets really the sad music comes in. Like the worst time of my life, literally, because I had just gotten married. Not why it was the worst part.
Shout out.
I'll stop the sad music there.
I had just gotten married.
Shout out Michael's wife.
And I broke my foot when we were moving after the wedding.
Fuck.
And we were moving quick, so she got pregnant pretty quick after the wedding.
Damn.
So found out she was pregnant.
Yep.
Broke my foot while moving my sister's in-laws couch. Yeah. And it was super slow.
Yeah.
So it was just like really, really depressing times. And I got a phone call, and it was like, I remember I was shutting the door to the car. It was like the last box was in. I got my foot in a boot. I'm not going to be able to put weight on it for like 6 weeks. Pregnant wife can't lift and move anything. We got boxes everywhere.
Oh, my God.
So shut the door. And I get a phone call, or it was an email, and it said, "Hey, my name is so-and-so. I am the lead agency guy at LG. We have a 14-day shoot coming up. Are you available?" And like a 14-day shoot's like unheard of.
Yeah.
And then when I found out it was real, I was like, holy shit. And then they were just like, "Hey, it's this amount of money. Or is that cool?" And I was like, yeah. I was like, I would have taken whatever you said.
Yeah.
And so, but it was like literally life-saving amount of money for like to cover like 6 months of my life that I wasn't going to be able to walk around.
Man.
And the shoot was like all in a studio.
Yeah.
And they were like, "Hey, we already booked all the actors."
Life is easy then.
And I was just like, "Okay, cool." So it's like all this stuff's coming together, and I'm like, "Hey, by the way, how did you guys hear about me?" And they're like, "Oh, so and so for the vet thing. They're one of our main editors or whatever." And I was like, "Holy shit, this job!" I can swear, right?
Yeah, please.
I was like, this fucking job that I lost. That dude was like, yeah, he had a good reel. He might be good for stuff that you had. So I go and do a 14-day shoot for LG. They've already casted it, which is a little bit of a kind of a treading into the director world because directors get to usually cast. But I was like, I'm going to just show up and be happy. And I showed up, and it was 3 or 4 of the best actors I've ever worked with, and Alyssa was one of them.
Oh, really?
So that's how Alyssa kind of came into my life.
What a crazy tie-in.
Crazy how things just all compound to one another. You just say the one thing to a producer, they get you into this thing. You meet an actress there.
And
wild,
like you said,
happens.
just like being a good dude and being professional, and then just knowing that like, hey, maybe not right now, but this may pay off and just may come back to me in a good way 6 months down the road, 5 years.
Sometimes you're not ready for other things too. It's like I've lost jobs, and I was like, oh man, if I had done that, like let's just like the bank commercial that we did, you had to sit at a desk and just be funny for like an hour.
Yeah, dude, it was like the best experience of any. Obviously, I haven't done a lot, but to be able to just come in, I was the first one to shoot.
Yeah,
you were so chill and so cool. Where you were like, yeah, like because we didn't have a script or anything. You were like, just try this and say that, and then you were like, yeah, that's funny. So do that, and then you were like, and then we'll try a couple different lines. You made me feel super comfortable, which I feel like as a director, that's got to be one of the most important things. Is like getting people comfortable enough where they can, play around.
The weird thing, I appreciate you saying that, and that's why I did ask how much stuff you had done, because sometimes when people come onto a set, there's so much stuff that you are not prepared for.
Yeah.
Because you're just like, oh, I'm auditioning for this camera, and I hope I get this part. And you see the commercial as it happens. You don't see all the people and the director going back and forth to the client, and it's like you never know, like, do they not like what I'm doing?
Yep. And you even preface, which thank God you did say this, but you were like, before we did anything, you were like, hey man, sometimes I give a little bit of direction. It's just to try something. A lot of times actors will get like, oh man, do they not like me? Do they think I'm doing a bad job? And I'm like, thank God you did say that, because I think that would have been my natural instinct to be like, am I not doing it the right way or whatever?
Well, the weird thing that people don't realize, like right here, there's a light there, and I can see all this stuff over here, right?
Yeah.
On a commercial, and you probably saw this, there's like a huge diffusion grid that's for light, and then there's this thing over here that's black that's blocking out whatever's coming through here, and then you got 3 guys that are kind of in the dark that you can't really see because the lights are on you, and so you're kind of like you're in this like fishbowl a little bit, and you can't really feel like the vibe because the client's so far away.
Exactly.
And you also don't know, like, we have to do a bunch of takes, and it's like 80% of the time it's not you, it's the focus wasn't good, or the light was in the shot, or all this kind of stuff. So I think that was probably a perfect level commercial to be your first thing, and like you had lots of dialogue. You're the first thing people see. So I hope that
it couldn't have worked out better. And even just with the comfortability of not being married to like a script, I definitely would have been nervous if you were like, you got to hit exactly these lines, but you kind of came in, you were like, we're thinking something like this, and you and I just kind of like said it back and forth a few times. And then I'm like, that was just so much easier. So much more fun.
It's this is like such a minutia of this one commercial, but the thing that makes it funny, and it's like I don't know, you guys are stand up. I've never done stand up, and I'm sure you go over this with your act. It's the little tiny thing that for me sells it. It's like in the spot, you turn your head and you say, what's the guy's name? You say, you're my favorite customer. Brian.
Yeah.
It's the going, I can't explain it because, I direct comedy commercials, but I don't understand this of what's funny about you being here and then turning your head to be there.
That was a conscious choice. So I'm actually. It's funny to hear you say that because I was thinking, I'm like, it'd be funny if I did like a Jim Carrey-esque like.
Yeah.
Sort of like, but you do like that a decent amount. Like you do like throw that into your act
some head
as well.
movements. Yeah.
I know what you're saying though. Like there's these little tiny subtleties that you don't know why it does it. Like even a pitch of a voice in like a stand-up act or a little way that you pronounce something, it really does make a big
slight,
difference.
like interesting thing in a delivery makes the biggest difference.
I always say it's the State Farm commercial from like 15 years ago with the khakis.
Khakis.
Khakis. Like the way if they did that on a different day, even with the same actor, he might have done something just a little different.
Yeah.
Or if they cast somebody different, like that spot probably made that dude's career, or whoever directed it, if it was a man or a woman, those little tiny things are what I think make the commercials work, and a lot of times it's just the performance.
Totally. Yeah. Now, how did you start did you gravitate toward the comedic style directing from the jump?
Yeah, I did a commercial for a toothpaste company where we brought this guy who'd been dead for like 200 years back to life, and he was like representing this toothpaste company that he founded.
Joe Biden?
It was not. It was Dr. Sheffield, Sheffield Pharmaceuticals, and so they're just way more fun.
Yeah.
Like you get on some of these sets, on it, it's way harder. I will say the comedy is like so much harder than drama. But it's just more, it's more fun to work with like funny people.
Yeah.
And I like, if you're going to be there for 10 hours, it's like to have to talk about cancer or whatever. It's just really depressing versus like we're selling, open an account in this fucking bank.
Yeah. I will say I've done, like I said, not much, but a few other small things. And
I think you need to re-engineer this into, I've done a lot of big stuff. Done a lot of big financial commercial work.
That's right, man. A lot of big have you ever watched television? You probably have seen me on there.
If you've seen any Phillies or Eagles games in the last 6 weeks.
What's funny is the people that I didn't tell about it who were like, did I just fucking see you on a commercial for the Eagles game? Like, oh, dude, and this is also what I wanted to talk to you about is how funny is it I got my buddy Mike in it as the Eagles player.
Yeah, no, we had a real Eagles player play that guy.
That's right. I'm sorry. But the real Eagles player happened to be on a bachelor party with me the weekend that you hit me up, and you were like, hey, do you have anybody that looks like a football player? And I'm sitting across from my buddy Mike, and he's like, I'm like, hey, do you want to do this?
You know what's so crazy, though, to hear you talk about this is that, like, I don't want to downplay this commercial, but, like, this budget was horrendous to deal with. And we were just trying to make it work, and I think it came out good. But in like the grand scheme of commercials, like this was like very difficult to do with the money that they had to do it. But the best thing about it is that you're able to then take this and use this to be like, look what I can do. It's lit well.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's high end, and then it could help go to the next thing for you.
This is my full sizzle reel right now. There's nothing else on it.
No, dude, finance is your niche now. You got the sketch that we did. Now you have this legit commercial.
But people don't need to see, like, they can see that and go, oh, I know what he can do. So I think that one spot can do a lot of damage as far as like showing capabilities.
Yeah, one legit spot, hopefully.
Yeah.
There is a difference where it's like people can tell like if it's something that I made myself versus a legit commercial. But my buddy Mike, we're sitting there and you were like, cool, can you just you need to look like a football player. Can you send some pictures? I'm like, Mike, do you have any pictures? I send Michael
the Wolverine.
He has a picture of himself with Wolverine claws, like in a tank top.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'll fucking send this if you want. He's like, send that to Mike. And Michael is like, yeah, dude, it's fine. We just need like a background guy. Like,
have you guys seen, not to like derail this, have you seen Deadpool Wolverine?
I haven't. No, I haven't.
You haven't? You have.
It was great.
It's like the most amazing, I don't know, how do I articulate this? You have Hugh Jackman, who's doing like, if this was not a comic movie, this is like Academy Award winning performance.
Yeah.
He's just going all out. And then you have Ryan Reynolds doing his thing, and it just shows how like comedy is obviously drama just heightened, and it's obviously Hugh Jackman's done amazing dramatic films. But I think that like if you just kind of like do your thing and do it really well, you kind of don't need to show. Like, if you watched Deadpool, you'd be like, oh, okay, Ryan Reynolds, he kind of does the same thing in every movie.
Yes.
But people love to see that.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't think you need to have 5 spots. I think you need to have, like, you know, if you get another couple in the next few years, like, you'll have 2 or 3 things, and you'll just get hired based off of that.
And to your point, Ryan Reynolds kind of found his thing. Like,
100%.
He talks like that. He has that cadence. It works. It's funny. And, like, he kind of does just do that. But it's like, I feel like, and that's what we try to do in stand-up, is finding your voice, quote unquote. But it's like, if you can just hone in on that and get really good at that thing.
So there's a clip that was going around when they started. You can cut this out if this is not interesting. But when they were doing the press tour for that movie, they were telling a story about how when they made the first Wolverine movie, Ryan Reynolds has a very small part in it. But he's very well known for this, like, one scene in the elevator. And they shot the scene, and he was, like, sitting outside his trailer, and he was just like, I don't know. And Hugh Jackman, who's, like, the star of the movie, at the height of his power, comes by, he goes, did you not like what you did? Or he goes, I just don't know. And he said, yeah, he was just like, why don't you do what you wish you did when you're driving home today? You're like, oh man, I wish I did that. And then they went back, and he got all the crew to come back, and they reshot it, and he just went off.
Yeah.
And it's this, you know, pretty well regarded comedic scene in the elevator, but when you watch it, it's like, oh, that's the blueprint for Deadpool.
Yeah.
Which becomes, you know, they do that to 11 in all these movies.
I know exactly the scene you're talking about. Yeah, and that had to have been so just amazing for him to be like, I can finally just kind of do my thing and talk the way that I want to.
And I think you got to just do your thing, even if you don't have permission for it, because on commercials, I haven't figured out a way of, like, synthesizing this into, like, a statement that is, like, clear. But sometimes I'll just do shit without asking them, and just because, like, it's Steve Jobs thing, people don't know what they want until you show them. So, like, I don't know if we really did it on the First Trust thing, but yeah, we'll just do shit.
I totally feel
be like, oh, it's funny, and they'll go, oh yeah, we like that.
Yeah.
It wasn't planned.
Because I started, like, I've been auditioning with Reinhardt for, I don't know, a couple years now, and
Reinhardt is an agency. You should probably explain who they are.
Commercials and stuff. Just like a local Philadelphia agency for.
But they get a lot of big time people that are shooting here. So, like, if M Night's, I'm saying he might use them, but if there's a big movie that comes into town, or like what was the
M Night, they had something I did audition.
Oh, really?
It was like a small thing.
Okay.
But,
Adam Sandler's been shooting down here a lot,
like Hustle.
too.
So you could get a big part.
You're in the right market.
Yeah,
there's a lot of movies being shot.
I would, and that's the thing. And the one thing I realized with doing, I've only really ever done the tapes. The auditions on tape. Like, I've never been in a room doing auditions.
Hey, guess what? Neither have I.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah.
I started doing this more seriously during COVID.
Okay.
And so I've never done a live casting.
Wow. Interesting.
So I guess that's just kind of the way
they rarely happen
the way that
anymore.
It goes now.
Yeah.
But the last year, I just started. I'm like, I don't book a whole lot, anyways. So I'm just gonna start doing whatever the fuck I want with these audition tapes.
Yeah.
And just be. And if they don't like it, well, whatever. I'm not getting it anyways.
Yeah.
So I'm like starting to do that more and more, and having way more fun with it. I'm like, I think I'm actually getting better.
Yeah.
Because I've been starting to do that.
I know with our experience doing just comedy sketches, it's always way better where you have a general idea of a script, but you don't have to go word by word.
Yes.
You have to, like, no, I need it pronounced like this.
Yeah.
It's like, just give them the idea.
We've
and run
learned
with
a lot with that. Like,
Yeah.
Dan and I producing our own sketches over the years. Like, we kind of found for ourselves when we're doing it to just kind of have the general idea, and then just kind of more talk it out and talk like ourselves when we're doing it.
Very rarely does the end product come all that close to the original script.
Yeah.
And we'll come up with something on the spot. It's like, oh, that's perfect. Because you thinking of something, another guy we have in there thinking of something, what I thought of originally is going to be completely different.
And I'm a little jealous of the stand-up. I've never done stand-up. I've thought about it.
If you've thought about it, you might as well do it.
What I'm jealous about is you can just go up there and do it, and you don't need other people. Like, for me, I need 25 people to go and do
You're
something.
up there by yourself. You got to figure it the fuck out.
That's the thing I love most about stand-up. I originally thought I wanted to be like an actor, which I still like doing acting if it's a fun thing. But when I found stand-up, I'm like, I can do it whenever I want. I could say whatever the fuck I want. I don't really have to rely on other people, and I just love that so much more. Like, You just have a lot more control.
I think it also will help you with the acting to be able to be there and not freak out. Because I imagine there's a lot of actors that when there's like 4 seconds of silence, it's like, what? And you guys are probably used to. Well, hopefully you're not used to it, but you're able to operate in that space.
You have to be able to play off of that silence and use it to your advantage,
like
in between jokes, whatever it is.
We've bombed so many goddamn. Like,
you have to go up
just part
there.
of the game. Like,
And anybody I talk to about that is just like they're terrified of eating shit or whatever, which I didn't have stage experience. I feel like you have one or two things. You either have the like high school theater background, you're good on stage in front of people, but you don't have written stuff, or you've written some things down. There's some potential there, but you have zero stage experience. I think I was in that camp. Which one would you between the two?
I would say that I didn't really have the stage presence. I was always writing stuff down, and then I had to really get comfortable up there. It took me a while.
I was a gas attendant at Wawa in high school and in college.
I pumped gas too.
Really?
Yeah.
Where at? Just
Mobile in
nice.
Connecticut.
Oh, okay. So like I would be sitting in this booth at, in an overnight thing, and I'd just be all my thoughts in my head, and I would come up. I was like, you know what? I should start writing down some funny shit. Internet was just starting to really blow up at that point. It's like maybe this will turn into something. But then eventually I moved to Philly. I was around places.
Where are you from?
Mics. I grew up in the Burlington area, Burlington County, just like probably 30 minutes north of here.
Okay.
It's so funny. I kind of was doing the same thing where I was writing stuff down with no idea what I would ever do with it. And it's so funny to think what your intentions were at the time of just like, this is funny, I'm going to write it down. And you're like, I got class. Like, I had no idea I would ever try.
You know what I was ever writing it down for was like, I need to make this like cohesive to put it like as a Facebook status. And at that point, it was like your wall and your posting stuff. That's what I was saying. I was like, but I need to word it properly. I got to think about it. So I had all of these like basically Facebook status-esque kind of joke things. And then it kind of went from there. You know what? I had a thought here. So we have some friends of the program, some celebrities here, featured on the wall here. I would love to know, big friend of the program here, Mr. Gary Busey. Yeah. Now, if you were going to direct a commercial and you had Gary Busey submit a tape for it, what kind of commercial would you cast?
Just screaming into the camera.
All right, so
he did an Amazon Prime commercial years ago.
Yeah, a couple things here. Probably seen Point Break about 75 times.
Fuck yeah.
So I would want to do him in some sort of a Wawa related content.
Ooh, I'm in.
Because the best part of Point Break, and this is a real deep cut, is there's a part where him and Keanu Reeves are staking out these surfers, and Keanu goes, "Hey, I'm gonna go get a sandwich," and he goes, "They got these big meatball sandwiches down there." He goes, "Why don't you get me 2 of those?" He goes, "All right." And he sticks his head out the car and he goes, "Utah," because his name's Johnny Utah. He goes, "Utah, give me 2." I
can hear him say that.
Deep cut. That's the classic. Utah, give me 2.
So I would do that. They should get him to do like forget Jason Kelsey for this Wawa whatever Hoagie Fest. Let's get Gary Busey there.
Get the Buse.
Who's he with in that?
Oh, that's the Gary Busey family portrait. It's his face photoshopped onto multiple.
Maybe we get Jake Busey in the spot too.
Look at that one there. How about a friend of the program, Mr. 50 Cent? Now, if you were casting
from Connecticut,
lives
in Connecticut.
He has like
really?
Yeah, he's got a massive
Farmington. I think he sold it though.
Oh, did he sell that? That was a
Mr.
huge...
Cent is from Connecticut? I thought
he's from New York, but he lives in Connecticut. Farmington.
Yeah, he had to move up out the hood. Yeah. And I met him at a liquor store in Philly, and we took that picture together, and we've been kind of close since. But
he's kind of leading the face of the P. Diddy charges.
He really is.
He is.
Yeah.
So I feel like...
awesome.
Do they have a like Diddy documentary? Would you ever consider directing a documentary?
They got one, right?
There's already
I think he's been making it for quite a bit.
Oh, he has been making it.
I was on a shoot, and I had to shoot in Brooklyn, and I had to drive through Lower Manhattan.
Yeah.
This is 3 weeks ago. And so I'm driving through, and I'm like, oh, courthouse. Oh, that's the courthouse that's in like all these movies and stuff. And there's people walking by, and I dumbly go, oh, this just must be somebody that's getting, a bureaucrat or something, or whatever. And then I'm watching the news in the hotel that night, and it was Diddy getting arrested.
Oh, no way.
Getting arraigned or whatever.
You were on the front lines of it.
I was on the front lines.
You were slipping in all that baby oil.
I was sliding all over the place. Yeah.
Damn.
That's how I got to set so fast.
Wow.
Damn.
So was there just a bunch of people
There was just a bunch of I didn't see him. It was just a bunch of news people that were out there.
Man.
Holy shit. So. He's still claiming, I don't even know the details of it, but I know he's still claiming that he's...
I know, I keep seeing like a a post from World Star Hip Hop once a day. Like
that's your news source.
Oh yeah. That's I mean, it's as accurate as Fox and CNN.
That's right. I got one more because they do have some local commercials with Mr. McNabb there and his mother at the Campbell Soup commercials. If you remember from back in the day.
So I'm in hostile territory right now, and people are going to shut this podcast off now. But we got a Patriot in the house.
That's right. You're from Connecticut, Patriots.
But I will say, I was fortunate enough. We suck now. We had our time. We had our run.
It's quite terrible.
A run. Probably the best run.
Well over a decade or two.
You kind of can't argue with it.
And I haven't gotten paid to endorse this, but if you haven't watched The Dynasty on Apple Plus, they go through everything. It's like The Last Dance, but with the Patriots.
Oh damn!
Shit.
It's fantastic. Maybe Cindy's watching it right now.
Do they go through all the cheating?
Dude, they go through everything.
Robert Kraft in that massage parlor.
So they don't go through that. So this is every episode. Every episode is them on camera, like close up. Bill Belichick. Hey, can we talk about the Deflategate? I'm not going to talk about that. And then they go to Tom Brady looking like a Greek god, and he's just like, it was just a hard time, and da-da-da. He goes, I don't really want to talk about it. And then they go to Robert Kraft, and Robert Kraft spills the beans on everything.
Really?
He's like, it was a Tuesday, Tommy came in, Giselle was swearing, blah, blah, blah.
He loose lips on Kraft.
He tells everything. But I will say, I got to do a shoot with Jordan Mailata.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
A few months ago.
Oh, okay.
Or no, a year ago.
I was going to ask if it was the one where he was singing, right? He's the singer on
He sings, yeah. We did get him singing. Awesome guy.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be like, if he goes into movies and TV and broadcasting, like he has like the Rock charisma.
Yeah.
He was just, we were shooting at his in his building.
Oh, okay.
And he came and hang, like some people, I've gotten to work with a couple famous people. Some people are cool. They're there for like 20 minutes. Other people are just like regular people. He was a regular dude.
That's awesome.
Was like talking to all the crew. We got into candy because, he gets all this candy imported from his home country.
Really?
And he was a super cool guy. So like after that shoot, I texted my father-in-law, who's a diehard Eagles fan.
Yeah.
I was like, maybe I'll, this Patriots thing isn't working out. Maybe
You'll switch sides.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm a fair weather fan. I'll go to whoever.
I mean, at this point, if you're now a South Jersey bad boy, you've been working.
You got to stick to your guns.
Yeah, and they've paid me. The Patriots never paid me anything.
Well,
so
that's a good argument.
Yeah.
Who do you think's the coolest person that you've worked with?
The coolest person I've worked with,
and just to you personally, where you're like, look, I'm a Patriots fan. I've worked with or just.
Man, put me on the spot.
I love Gary Busey. Got to hang out with him.
You know who I didn't get to work with him, but I did get to meet this guy at a bar like 15 years ago.
Okay.
Kiefer Sutherland.
Really?
Yeah, he was awesome. Little guy.
Really?
They're all short.
What, like 5'7", middle American
probably
average?
Somewhere.
That sounds like he probably cleans up with the ladies.
Yeah, no, he was really cool. I got to hang out with him.
Sounds like it's not even an issue when girls see him at the bar.
It's not for him. I was in a deep 24 binge mode back then too. I would love to work with him.
That's pretty sick.
I think I would like to work. I'm going to change your question to who I would want to work with versus the coolest.
It's a better question.
I think Kevin Hart would be really cool on a commercial because I think he makes these maybe the chase ones aren't that interesting, but
some of the recent ones have been pretty funny.
The DraftKings ones was
with LeBron.
I feel like he riffs a lot, and they just kind of use some of the script.
There's no way he's sticking to a script.
Oh no, no.
Because they know what they're getting if they have any remote chance of having him in a commercial.
And that other guy, Danny DeVito behind you, I think those Jersey Mike's commercials are fantastic.
That's another good one.
Huge supporter of the franchise. Number 7. I get the number 7 over there.
Can I tell you my favorite commercial that I think is so funny are the ones with I forget what it's for, but that you'll turn into your
Dr. Rick.
parents.
I knew you were gonna say that. So the guy that colors not to go into this, but like when you shoot commercials, they don't just like come out colored. There's somebody that goes through and makes all of the changes. So when you go and see a David Fincher movie, it's very green.
Yeah.
When you go and see a movie by Michael Bay, it's really blue and orange and poppy.
Yes.
So the guy that colors the stuff that I do, he colors all those commercials.
Really?
And this kind of goes into what we were talking about before. The guy in those is hilarious. I forget his name, but he was in The Bear. He had a small role in The Bear. He plays the guy's sister's husband.
Okay.
But he's like the main dude in all those, and he was also in a show called Love. I think he got casted for, that was a Judd Apatow show. I think he got casted for those out of being in those commercials.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, that would make sense. They're so damn funny, dude.
There's a joke, because this is a comedy podcast.
Yeah.
We can go into the minutia of this.
Oh, yeah.
There's a joke in one of those new ones that I was saying to my wife. I was like, this is genius editing and genius writing, because the joke has to be a second long. Like, I don't think I've ever seen, maybe it's 2 seconds. I've never seen something that was so tight and so specific. It was like specific in a Seinfeldian way of like only a couple people are going to get this joke.
Yeah.
It was one of the people holding leftovers, and she goes, "But you loved it." And he goes, "No, they don't want it." It's like 2 seconds.
Yes.
But it was
all of them
so
are very
good.
quick, where it's like he's going to sit down in his chair and he goes,
Yeah.
Did you hear that? Like, dude, those commercials get me every time. I'm like, that's so fucking
I think
funny.
I can start telling how old the guys at the urinals next to me are by the sounds they make when they're going to the bathroom.
Yeah,
grunts.
the louder the sounds, the older the
Oh
the
yeah,
man.
but now that I'm 39, I'm starting to get into the
Starting to get audible.
getting audible at the urinal.
Yeah.
I'm still
Starting to sound like a women's tennis match in there. Just,
how are you? Are you pretty quiet still? Or are you starting to let it out?
the only time I really start letting it rip vocally at the urinal in a public setting is if I want to get a reaction out of somebody. If I'm just there, I'm just,
Yeah, I'll ask the
Yeah.
guy how his day's going.
yeah. I'll
How
tell
you
a guy I
doing? You
saw-
look down.
Yeah.
How you
Yeah.
doing there?
Just
How are
looking
you,
down,
man?
I'll be like, I think that's a quarter in your urinal. Yeah, it's usually what I'm trying to get their attention.
Male American average. What'd you say?
Yeah, male American average, dude. That's always what if somebody brings up someone that's like 5'7", oh, it's about male American average.
I saw a thing on Hulu or whatever. These guys that were getting leg extensions. You seen this?
Oh, I've looked
You looked
into
into
it.
it?
He doesn't want to fuck with his calves.
Yeah, the cat.
They're getting like bones put in.
Yeah,
Wild.
I mean,
committed.
That's insane. Because then, like, is the rest of your body just out of proportion?
Probably.
You know, because they're just getting like a 2-inch lift.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like
there's
you're
only
shaking
2
assholes.
inches too.
Yeah.
But what would you do to get that 5'9"?
Oh my god, I would crush for it. But you know, if I'm gonna go,
Are you 5'7"?
yes.
Okay.
So it's like if I'm going,
How tall is your wife?
like 5'1"?
You're good.
Yeah.
Really?
I mean, I don't know, 5'2".
I was going to say 5'6". I don't know.
Sam's so short.
She's never above you though.
No, never.
So who cares?
Sam's pretty short. That's the thing. It's like, but if you're gonna go, you're gonna get some extensions. You might
Yeah.
as well fucking pump me up to 6'5"
Yeah.
and just look like a
I
fucking
mean, you got
lunatic.
Tom Cruise. You know, he's the same height as you. You
Yeah.
never know.
He's killing it, dude.
All the famous people. They're all Fallout
Yeah.
Boy.
Yeah.
They're all the same height.
Joe Rogan.
And they're
Mark Wahlberg,
just keep naming people.
Marky Mark,
Bill Cosby.
any other 5'7" bad boys out there? Tom Holland, perhaps.
Tom
I feel like
Holland.
he's a shorter
He's
man.
going to be in Nolan's new movie. I just read today.
What's
Chris Nolan?
Chris Nolan's new movie though.
I don't know what it's about, but I just know they cast.
Because
it.
I always like the topics that he picks. Space.
Yeah.
You know, stuff.
Oh, okay, this is vampires.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
I do remember. It's vampires in London in like 1800s. or
I'm
something.
into it, dude.
Yeah.
So let's get back to you for a second.
Okay.
So how did you even get into directing? Did you go to school for it?
I went to school for music.
Okay.
And I was going to be a musician. I used to tour the country in a band.
No way.
Yep. Did that for.
What kind of music?
It was like hardcore.
Sick.
Everybody. This is the other thing about film. If you're in film, you're either a washed-up musician like myself,
Yep.
or you came from the Christian church. Because Christian, are you Christian? We got any Christians in the house?
Grew up
All right.
Both
Catholic.
Catholic, yeah.
The new Christian churches have insane video production.
Yeah, they
it's
do.
like we were spending a little too much money on this stuff.
Directed by Michael Fagan.
No. No. But the DP that I shoot with, the director of photography, he came from the church, and a lot of these guys kind of get their start there.
Yeah.
But I wanted to be like a rock and roller. That was my
There's
thing.
something about like dudes in hardcore music with directing film
Yes.
and comedy.
Yeah.
They love all
It's a big
three.
Venn diagram.
Yeah.
Just all intersects.
If you're into one, chances are you're into the other two.
I was on a shoot, and the sound guy and I were like kind of not getting along, and like throughout, like at the middle of the day, he said some reference, and I was like, "Oh yeah, Thursday, they're from New Jersey." He goes, "Oh, my favorite band ever," and then we were like best bros.
yeah.
But I was gonna be a musician, moved to New York City, kind of was making shitty money and selling TVs like this one over here.
Did you like the city?
I did not.
Yeah.
See, that's the thing. I was like spending so much money. I'd look at my check. I was
know.
like, city tax, borough tax.
It's a tough thing to justify.
Rat tax.
Yeah.
The rats on garbage night. Hated it. And I moved back home, and I
They'll
just got
steal your fucking TVs, those rats, dude.
we got broken into twice. They took my Xbox.
The rats?
Yeah.
You don't mind, do you?
So how about this? They also stole my computer, which I was writing my student thesis on.
Fuck.
And it was back when none of the shit was backed up.
Yeah, anywhere. No
So
cloud.
20 pages gone.
Fuck.
Did you go to school in New York?
No, I moved early because they were like, oh yeah, you're just going to do music stuff. That can be your credits and all that.
Gotcha.
But how did I even get into directing? I think I kind of just like started doing it for fun with like skateboard films and stuff like that.
Cool.
Yeah.
And to get a real job, I started working at like a marketing agency. Do you guys talk about what you do?
A little bit.
Dan more so than me because it kind of
the
goes
private
in
dancing and
with
all
comedy.
Yeah,
So
all the
private
single-hour
dancing.
bills and
yeah,
the-
I just don't want too many clients. Right
I was
now.
in like your world of
Yeah.
like working with agencies and stuff like that and just making websites. And
Yep.
then one day, SEO started to become a thing, like search engine optimization.
That's what I meant,
Right?
yeah.
Guys all over it.
So people are typing in-
every other.
Pizza place, whatever.
Yep.
Like, how do you rank high in that? And then we realized, if you got a video on YouTube, it comes to the top. Maybe this video gets you guys, people listening to the podcast.
Yeah.
So I started doing shitty ads, and then have you heard of Vineyard Vines?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how the fuck did they hire me? I don't know. I get it. We
I feel like you looked the part. They're like, dude, you're hired. You're wearing all of our products.
I was like, I was wearing the ties. And we went to Bermuda and filmed this thing, and it was like, it should have been so much better. This is like 2015. And I was just like, I don't know.
not that long ago.
It wasn't that long ago. And it wasn't good. And I was on the beach, like, trying to do everything myself. And I came back, and somebody was like, you should get a cinematographer. And I was like, what's that? And they go, they make everything look great. And I was like, so I can just focus on working with people like you, like the actors? And you go, yeah, that's what directors do. And so I called up this dude, and we went and met, and we kind of hit it off. He was actually in my wedding, and he's been shooting with me like ever since.
Oh,
and
nice.
things slowly got better and better. Met kind of like your last guest from Collingswood, whose name is Rob.
Rob Cody.
Yeah.
I listened to one episode before coming here.
It's a perfect
Yeah.
one.
Rob's
How
Other
about it?
Southern gentleman.
So same story as him. I met my wife in Connecticut. Her family's from here, and we moved back here.
There we go.
But I will say this area fucking rules.
Yeah.
As far as like meeting other funny people, working with fun crew in New York. I'm sure it's great for the comedy world because you're getting new audiences all the time.
Yeah.
But nobody knows anybody there. It's
Yeah.
all, this production company, I've never heard of them. Here, everybody knows each other.
Yeah.
It's competitive, but you're all kind of friendly. And I feel like it's a little bit of a we like raise each other's game by like being competitive,
Yeah,
but also
definitely.
knowing each other in a friendly way. Maybe
Yeah.
comedians are like that too. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
I feel
so.
like it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. And like around here, to your point, like you just, because it's a smaller market, you get to, people see your work, you kind of get to know everybody. In New York, it's great for stand-up because there's a ton of places to work, but you can't get lost in the shuffle because it's just, there's so many people.
What comedian have either of you guys seen live that you're like, holy shit? Like, that's what I need to, like, they make you rewrite your stuff because you're like, I need to be better because they're killing.
So many people.
There are a lot of the people that I have that thought of in the exact moment it's happening. It's people that no one has ever heard of.
Really?
It's like people think that the famous ones are always the best at this
Yeah.
and that. It's always the guy you never heard of that is way better than a lot of that. I don't know what it is. I feel like that's what it is.
I
for
will
me.
say, like, there have been times where I've seen Gillis, and it's just such a cool thing because we saw him when he wasn't, when he was doing open mics in the city and he wasn't that far gone. And then he just reached this level where he was just like, he was taking audiences, he was just annihilating crowds.
Yeah.
And I was just like, dude, he's just hit this other level that you really would aspire to be. Like, there would be times where the first time I saw Shane, he featured at Helium for Sam Morril. And this is before, I didn't know who the fuck he was. I wasn't even doing comedy at the time. And me and my wife now, girlfriend at the time, were, after the show, we saw Shane get off and we were both like, who the fuck was that?
Yeah.
He was so good.
Yeah.
But then there's been other, like, I got to do a show with Louis C.K. once.
That's awesome. How long ago?
That was pandemic too. So that was 2021.
Yeah.
So, 4 or 5 years ago, give or take. But there's certain guys like that. Attell. Every time you see Attell, you're like, I don't know.
And he's like one of those guys that, like, if you asked 10 people, maybe 1 or 2 of them would know.
Unless they're really into stand-up, no one would really know.
Which is insane. Attell really is the guy that you see him do a show and you're like, I don't even know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I don't know what stand-up is.
You know what's such a not cool thing to say, but my wife and I were like, because, our kids are the same age, almost 2.
Yeah, Jack is like a little over a year and a half.
So I think we're like 19 months.
Yeah,
she was
same.
March 5th.
Yeah, he was March 24th.
So we're like in this kind of thing of just like, we're not in the mood at the end of the night to watch, like, as much as I love Christopher Nolan movies, it's like we're not firing up Oppenheimer to like go to sleep. So our new thing is just like comedies.
Yeah.
And so we were watching, I think The Wedding Singer might be like one of the most perfect movies because it's so funny, but it also is a little dramatic at the end and it kind of lands the plane. And then we did Big Daddy. So we kind of fell into this Adam Sandler world. Dude, all right, so
He's so good at Big Daddy, by the way, playing
very
the drama
good. And also, like, when you watch movies like Hustle or even Uncut Gems, like, such a good actor.
He's such a good actor.
One movie that's like very underrated, nobody watches, is Punch Drunk Love.
Okay.
He's phenomenal in that. It's a Paul Thomas Anderson
I've
movie.
heard it's really good. I don't know if I've seen it though.
But we're like, what do we watch? And we kind of get served in the thing, and I put it on as a joke, and I've never seen it in my life, but I hit autoplay on Paul Blart Mall Cop.
Yeah.
Had never seen it. Fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
Have you watched it?
I have. I did
probably
years
when
ago.
it first came out, but I love Kevin James.
Dude,
like,
this guy's... I'm watching this as just like a comedy director and not like, oh, it's Paul Blart, blah, blah, it's stupid. He has Buster Keaton level physical comedy going on in this movie.
Kevin James is
segue.
Yeah.
He is fucking great.
So
King
tonight,
of Queens is fucking great.
I was never a King of Queens guy. I was like a Seinfeld guy.
Yeah.
I flirted with Everybody Loves Raymond, but I was like strictly Seinfeld.
Yeah.
So I was never really like used to Kevin James, but dude, that's if you haven't seen Paul Blart Mall Cop, little indie film, and go check it out.
He really is like that. He's kind of he's got that like big guy athleticism, like a Buster Keaton or like a Chris Farley had.
Yeah, that's what I said to my wife. I was like, dude, if Chris Farley was still alive, imagine him as Paul Blart crashing through stuff.
So many of the guys in that circle, like the Adam Sandler umbrella, if you will, like Kevin James, Chris Farley back in the day, like Tommy Boy with David Spade. And now David Spade is in almost all
whole
of these.
crew: Chris Rock, David Spade, Adam Sandler.
And that's what Shane's kind of doing that.
Yeah,
like a lot of his guys are
umbrella,
in the stuff that he does.
That's what is so cool about seeing Shane's success is he's doing kind of that Sandler thing where he's bringing his Philly guys with him, and they're making their own shit, and it's just. They got tires going now. He brought all the Philly guys back and put them in that.
And they didn't, I will say to their credit, like it probably would have been way easier to shoot that in Texas. Also would have been way cheaper in, LA to have everything there, but they're doing it all here, which is still pretty cool.
And I got to imagine, it may have just been easier to maybe not fight to have like certain like comics in it. And you can just be like, just cast whoever in that small part. But he's like, they're putting in all of the Philly guys.
Yeah. When you guys watch, when you guys look at stand-ups, do you ever like change your approach based? Because it's like you want to have your own style, right?
Yeah.
Like I look at other directors, I'm like, oh, I don't want to like rip them off, but I also want to like kind of steal some stuff that they're doing that I like.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff for me, going back to even what you're saying with watching tapes of people auditioning, something unique that stands out that's different. I feel like in stand-up you can't just be, I mean, you very well can be, but I feel like it's a lot tougher to just be a straight up set up punchline guy. You gotta have something that's different. So I look at guys like Ian Fidance, for example, or I'm always naming guys that like you have to really know comedy to know them, but New York comic, and then you have somebody who I liked a lot growing up and passed away a few years ago, was Brody Stevens, was an LA comic, very high energy, very kind of like corny jokes, but like his whole cadence brought it all around. Even somebody like Miss Pat, who's a large black woman, has a steep southern accent, and I would never have watched her stuff. Like I would just be like, oh, that's not for me.
Yeah.
But after seeing her shows and stuff, I'm like, holy shit, like that is so fucking funny. And I could really see it. And a lot of people, she's blowing up a lot. So I see things that like unique or just energy wise for me that I've seen the energy or the cadence on stage that made me adjust it. Not follow them, but like you got to do something like that.
It's crazy when you see the openers for the bigger. So I don't know what my mother was thinking. God rest her soul. She brought, I was 13, 14. My brother was 12. We were like, hey, we're going to go see Tracy Morgan. It's like, okay, SNL, right?
Yeah.
Patrice O'Neill opens.
No way.
Oh, man.
One of the dirtiest comics of all time.
It was, and we were 15 feet away from him.
Oh, my God.
It was at Caroline's.
Yeah.
Also, God rest.
Yeah.
Well, maybe they're coming back, or
I think they are slightly. Yeah.
But it was the dirtiest, filthiest thing I've ever seen in my life. And I was next to my mother the whole time.
That is so funny.
That's insane. I had to kind of stop watching. I don't watch as much stand up anymore because I would
pick up on what they're doing.
Well, I would just there's so many guys that I'll become fans of that I wanted. Like I watch a Dave Attell or even like Sam Morrill's delivery style or Nick Swartzen or somebody, and I find myself wanting to be like them.
Yeah.
But then as much as I want to be, it just doesn't come out right, and I'm like, I start trying, and it just doesn't work for me.
Who's like the ultimate is Nate Bargatze.
Yes,
because he's got his own. And I was like, I'd always see his name. Never watched a single minute of his stuff until like a year ago, and I'm like, he's selling out the Wells Fargo Center.
Yeah,
never even heard of this guy except like randomly. And put one of his things on. Maybe it was like a Instagram thing that he posted or something. And I was like, that is fucking hilarious because it was just him doing his like kind of quiet.
Exactly. And he is one of those main guys that I'll watch and I'll be like, dude, I wanted to like start doing it that way, but it just doesn't wind up working. So I'm like, I have to just stop watching and just talk the way that I talk because that's the only way that I can do it.
Yeah.
As much as I'm like, but then I'll watch Nate and I find myself trying to write that way, and I'm like, I can't. So I kind of don't watch. I like watching specials of like lower level guys like ourselves who are starting to put out specials a little bit. Those I find really fun because they're just kind of new and you don't see them.
How much time do you have right now? Like how much time do you got? If somebody was like, "Hey, you got to go for an hour," would you? How far would you get?
I've done 45 before. Okay. Not that I'm. I wouldn't say that I have 45. I can do it if need be, but I would say like 30 to 35 is where I'm pretty tight with.
I've done 30 to 35. I'd probably do 20, probably a lot better. But yeah. There's that difference where everybody will tell you how much can you do, and somebody will say, "Oh, I got like an hour and a half of material," but realistically, it's like 45.
I would hate. Like I can maybe do 45, but 15 minutes of it, I would just absolutely.
So when you're doing your spots right now, are you doing like 15 minutes?
Usually 15
at a clip, and so you can't really do like a full story there. It's kind of
you got like chunk. You got to build chunks of stuff and then bring it all together.
You find your moments in there if you can maybe get one or two in, but 15's kind of tough. If you're featuring for somebody, you'll get between 20 to 30, where you get a little bit more time to.
Does it go by like for shoots? I'm on a 10-12 hour day. To me, they feel like they go by in like an hour because there's so much stuff going on. When you get up there, does it feel like it's over within like a second, or does it?
If it's a good show, If it's a bad show, it feels really
like goes out forever.
If you're doing well, you feel like you've been up there for 2 minutes. If you're doing bad, you go through your hour of material in about 5 minutes, and then you're fucked. I don't know.
Do you acknowledge when you're bombing? Do you just acknowledge it?
Yeah, I do.
Sometimes,
I call it out.
Yeah, but then you fall into the trap sometimes of acknowledging it too much to the point where they're like, "Look, dude, we know it's not a great crowd, but we're having a good time."
Yeah.
Because sometimes you turn like I've made that mistake before, where it's not that I'm necessarily bombing, but there's 10 people in the crowd.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Hey, we are having a good time, but it's just you're not going to get this reaction you're expecting."
Yeah. Yeah. It's a lot easier to laugh like a whole lot when everybody around you's doing it. When it's just 5 people, it's just like I'm not going to just start laughing out loud. I'll look like a psycho.
Yeah, so with that, it's like, dude, well, stop talking about it. Just do your stuff. They're here as long as they're not being like disruptive or anything.
Yeah.
It's like
it just varies so much, especially with local shows. Some local smaller shows, like you do have just a certain amount of people, and sometimes you feel like you gotta do something different. You got to pull them out. I've done that, like hosting shows in bars where they don't know comedy's about to happen, and it's like they're sitting at the bar, they don't give a fuck. They're the only people here. I got to get their attention somehow, so I'll just start going like fucking ballistic, get their attention, and then it turns out pretty good. Other times it goes completely south, but you gotta be.
It's that fear, like For me, like I thought about it. I never really was just like I'm gonna write some stuff and do it.
Yeah.
It would just be like it's the classic like, oh, I got to get up in front of all these people and I have no weapons. It's just you
had
know,
a microphone
but
and
you
that's
develop
it.
them. It's just one of those things like anything else where you start out doing it, you have no weapons, you don't know what the fuck you're doing, and then just after a couple of years, you're like you just start piecing it together. Well, or you don't. Or you know, some people don't.
I find listening to comedians talk about what they do. So like I could listen to Jerry Seinfeld talk to any comedian about like their process all day. I don't know why. It's just so interesting.
I do love I do personally love comedians talking shop too. I know a lot of people don't, but I personally like I just love stand up.
Yeah.
I like hearing that as well because everybody has their own unique approach, the way that they do it, the way that some person will tell you have to do this, and another person will tell you that's stupid, don't fucking do it. So you got to figure it out on your own.
That is the fun part of stand up too, when you see somebody like Ian Finance come in. And dude, I just saw him at New York Comedy Club the other night.
Like I've never heard of that guy.
Look him up. He's a Philly guy.
Dude.
Ian
Fidance. F-I dance.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he's just extreme. He's a character, dude. He would be somebody that I could see him being big in the acting world. He's a character.
Okay.
And he just gets up on stage and he is just so high energy. He does crowd work. He into material. He's kind of like this new age punk rock version of Attell.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. He's Attell's opener. He goes on the road with him.
Oh, cool.
So he's like developed a lot of skills from that, obviously. But you see somebody like him, and you see Nate Bargatze do it a completely different way, where it's like this cool, calm demeanor kind of storyteller that just kind of sits back in the pocket, like it's very family friendly, who's just as hilarious. And you're like, I just love that there's all different types of ways to do it.
Yeah. Have you done do you guys do like Blue, or are you kind of what separates the two? Because I haven't seen you each do stand up.
I feel like we're kind of in that, like, you can really dial it up to be really dirty, but if we needed to, like, I feel like for local shows and sometimes in the suburbs, people don't want it to be too dirty. And guys that are booking those shows from a business standpoint, they can't book somebody that's going to go up there and just talk about porn for 20 minutes.
Right.
Because people get up and walk and not come back.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's where, if you're a PG-13 type, and that's usually where I am in that PG-13, I could dial it up to an R if I need to, but I wouldn't call myself dirty to where I go on a dirty specific show.
Yeah.
Like, that's my sense of humor, though.
Right.
But I don't have stuff written that dirty.
We'll get booked sometimes in the city because we can be clean if need be. Not that we're necessarily like clean comics. I feel like the years that I'm in with comedy, I'm getting dirtier for some reason. Like I started out pretty squeaky clean.
Yeah.
But we could still like easily just take out the curse words and just, take out a couple jokes.
It's way easier to dirty something up than it is to clean something
Yeah.
up, because if you got a premise based on jerking off, like, how clean can you make that?
Yeah.
It's this Seinfeld thing where he was just like, does the swear make it funnier, or are you using it as like a
if the
crutch?
punchline is the word fuck, like, you got to redo something. Or a lot of stuff, especially in the 80s and 90s, the punchline was like, oh, they're gay, or the punchline is like faggot, or this, that. And if that is now, like, that doesn't work. You got to have something.
And that's the tough part too, because if you get booked for a clean show and that's the punchline, you can't say, you're like, well, you guys scrap that whole joke.
Yeah, that whole joke is out.
I was watching the Kill Tony New York, and when Andrew Dice Clay came out, like, I find him to be so funny when he's just like on his Instagram.
Oh my god!
Oh, those are so good.
But like when he did this is like, he'll never, not a knock on this episode, but he'll never see this, so I don't feel like I'm not saying anything. But like, I was just like, this is like, I don't know, dude. This is very dated, and it's just like,
he's stuck in that character from the 80s, and it was new for people hearing somebody say those things into a microphone, and now it's just like you can hear that any single day, all day long.
It's, where the act is kind of like, all right, it's Dice Clay, and he's old, and he's doing his old shit again. But you're right, like I agree. You see him walking up to people on Instagram and just fucking with them.
So
like,
funny.
That is the funniest Dice there is.
You want an autograph?
You want the picture?
You know who I am? You know what's so weird? He doesn't have a podcast, does he?
No,
he should.
No, I don't think so.
I have this weird thing where I love a podcast by a comedian, but I don't like their stand-up. Like Joe Rogan, we'll listen to the podcast any day.
Yeah.
Not crazy about a stand-up.
Yeah, a lot of people are like that.
Mark Maron, same thing. Like, I'm not really a Mark Maron stand-up guy, but I love listening to him interview people.
I've watched his stand-up. I don't like that either, and it's the difference between all this and why you can go in one area and not like it in the other. So,
and podcasting has changed the stand-up game in that way. It's weird now, where it's like sometimes you have exactly that, where you're like, love their podcast, the stand-up doesn't work for me for some reason.
The thing I always get with that, though, is a lot of people will say that Joe Rogan's not a comedian, and they're like, he's a podcaster. It's like, well,
he started as a comedian.
He started as a comedian. He got on Fear Factor, did movies, all this stuff. His podcast is what blew him up. However, his career, he's selling out theaters and making six figures every weekend by selling out arenas, doing comedy. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people that you and I would know that aren't considered comedians, but they were famous elsewhere. They do comedy. They sell out a theater. Kind of legally, you made your money doing comedy, whether or not you find it funny. Well, there are those fine points, though.
He also had, like, I don't even know, probably 20 years of stand-up
experience,
like road dog experience before he even started his podcast. I mean, he started his podcast in, like, his 40s, I think.
Yeah. He's been doing it since he was 20-something,
But I just never gravitated to stand-up. I don't listen to Shane's podcast either, but I do love the stand-up.
Yeah. Their pod's pretty damn funny. They do Matt McCusker is fucking hilarious. Yeah. But yeah, I kind of feel the same way with
maybe it's people. Different because there's two of them versus like
interviews. And Rogan's podcast too is definitely very interview focused, more serious. Yeah. People go on there and try and make jokes and they'll go right over his head. Like it's not that sometimes there's funny moments, but you can't go in there to make it like this is going to be a funny 3-hour thing. Like you got to have a character like Harlan Williams that goes on there. You get a character like Mark Norman and Ari together, like something like that. And
Dude, so I haven't done stand up, but I did bomb recently on a Zoom.
Let's go. You try and make a joke on Zoom and it didn't land?
No, even worse. All right, so I haven't found out if I've lost this job. You can do an update maybe when this goes live.
We'll plug it.
It's for this grocery store chain in the South and
Piggly Wiggly.
No, they're called Lowe's Foods.
They're called Abortions Are Us.
Abortions Are Us. And so the joke is, it'll be fun to do. I would love to get this. I hope I get the job. But by the time this airs, I might have lost it.
Yeah.
So the joke is, there's a grizzly bear sitting on a chair in a cabin talking about eating organic foods because he's all 100% organic and he eats, honey and berries and all that. And he's in a cabin. And so I made, with talking about the AI stuff, I made in Photoshop a fake picture of him holding a salmon, but he's on a boat with sunglasses and like fishing gear, like he's fishing, but he's caught the salmon like all these douchebags do. No offense to you guys, holding fish. Any Instagrams with you holding fish?
Dan probably has a couple.
I probably have a few.
So like every guy has that picture.
Exactly.
So it's on his wall as the bear. And so I made a wood panel of this cabin as a Zoom background with the fish back here. And so when I did the pitch, because like directors have to pitch what they want to do for the commercial in order to win the job.
Yeah.
So there's like 10 people from the agency. And I said to the guy, for the producer, I was like, you think this will be funny and I should do it? He goes, that's going to be hilarious. You should definitely do it. Crickets. So I had to do the whole pitch.
How did they respond?
Nobody said anything.
They're like, oh, that's cute.
You're like, okay, next
Nobody
slide.
said anything. So no, the whole time I've got this, because I can't then just take it down.
So you had to move forward with just that in the background?
I did the whole time, and it might have lost me the job.
Damn. Yeah. Well, that's what it takes to be. You got to just commit to the bit, and
so
just
you
go
can
with
totally
it.
do stand up, dude. If you could give a presentation with a fucking salmon in the background,
and that's even more awkward. So if you can painfully get through that with getting crickets,
yeah.
Now, if I was on the other end of that, I would laugh at it and say something to it. But the fact that you just were like, all right, well, I'm not going to change my background now. Like I'm just.
But I did think it would be kind of funnier to not mention anything and just see if I thought for sure somebody's going to say like, actually, oh, wood panel, because like the commercial and the fish, and nobody said anything.
Oh, and did you not say anything about it? Like,
I think I said something at the very end. I was like, hey, this didn't make the slide, but there. And then Zooms are weird, dude. Like some people are like, the worst is when you get on there and everyone's got their cameras off.
Ooh, yeah.
Do you guys have any Zoom material in your stand-up?
We had to do some Zoom stand-up shows during COVID. Yeah. It was the worst thing ever.
Companies that are like, we got to do something and we can't do team building stuff. We're all remote. What can we do? And they're like, oh, yeah, let's have somebody tell jokes. I did so many of those and just...
You tell a joke and then you just see everybody in the camera go...
Yeah,
but I mean, like, are you talking about your day job in your?
Not really. I'll talk a little bit about like technology stuff and like I did try working out something. I actually had to go to court on Zoom. My dog got bit by another dog, and it was right in the middle of 2020, so right as COVID was really peaking. Yeah. And the court.
You got that dog from the Wuhan market.
Yeah,
right,
yeah,
man.
you're damn right. So we get on the Zoom,
It was
and
a lab leak.
Yeah.
yeah, it was a lab. It was a fucking,
chocolate lab leak.
it was a chocolate lab.
Come on, guys.
There we go.
So we joined this Zoom room, and there's other people like going ahead of me for it's like a local court thing.
Yeah.
And there's guys on there like laying in bed with their Zoom camera
That's
facing,
awesome.
and like the one woman doesn't know how to turn her mute on, so you just hear her screaming at her kids in the background. The fact that a judge, like superior court type of judge, who's sitting there wearing the whole thing with the gavel, trying to explain to somebody to mute their phone because they can hear everything, and she's screaming, "Would you shut the fuck up?" And she's screaming at her kids.
Oh my God.
Incredible. I like almost want to go back and like pay to sit in one of those.
That's
rooms.
half of actors coming in and auditioning is their camera being sideways. Be like, can you guys see me? Can you see me?
So you guys like the auditions, the horizontal?
Yeah, you got it because we're all horizontal.
Yeah.
So you're kind of doing it like that.
Oh, I've botched that at almost 90% of my tips. Gonna have to fix that.
Yeah, dude, go like that because
Yeah.
then they're watching it on something like that way, not this
Yeah.
way.
Well,
I've watched a few films where I've
Good to
turned
know.
my phone sideways for 30 seconds. How would you guys like to call Cindy
Yeah.
real fast?
Let's
And
give her a ring. And
I know she'll be ecstatic to hear from us, and especially from
What time zone is she in?
She's in
we're an
Central.
hour 15, so
Okay.
We'll make this a couple minute combo.
Yeah.
She's out in Indiana.
we will have to, if she starts running though, we're gonna.
I'm going to give it to you. You're great at cutting off conversations.
I have to straight up tell her. I'm like, Cindy, hang on.
So we'll start it out by just saying, we heard your stories. We got a live director here in
Yeah.
the room, and he wants to hear you out for a pitch for a
Yeah.
horror,
Okay.
like a docuseries,
like
if
it.
you will. She's great.
she will answer too. I guarantee. If she doesn't answer, I'll be shocked.
Yeah.
Dead.
I'll set it up. I'll hand
Dude,
it over
chocolate
to you.
lab leak. That needs to be the title of this episode.
Yeah.
That's fucking
Chocolate
funny.
lab leak. There we go.
Chocolate lab.
Here we go.
Chocolate lab.
Give her a ring right now. Come on,
She's
Cindy.
got classic old lady voice where she'll go, "Hello."
Wait till you hear this broad answer.
She can't hear me then.
No,
Okay.
no.
20 minutes in. Oh, shit.
Oh wait, she
I think she accidentally hung up.
She did. I'm gonna give her a call right
you-
back.
Did you ever FaceTime her?
Oh no, it's her Google Voice. I don't want to
Oh,
give her
okay.
my real number.
I was gonna say,
But-
there's no way she knows how to work FaceTime.
It sounds like a landline.
Oh, yeah.
Hello?
Hi, Cindy.
Hello?
Hey, Cindy. This is your dear friend Brendan and Dan giving you a call back. How are things going in the retirement home?
Okay. How are you guys doing?
We're doing great. We've been hearing your recent voicemails. We're leading up to Halloween here, obviously with your, backstory with all the UFOs that have haunted you since the 70s. I wanted to give you a quick call because we're actually sitting here on the program tonight, and we have a local director that films some documentaries and docuseries. He wanted to hear out a pitch from you for possibly getting your story on TV and everything. How do you feel about that?
Oh, just fine. I'd be glad to talk to him in person.
Oh yeah. Now you're in
We'll give him your address.
what you're in what's the county that you're in?
In a retirement home in Avon, Indiana.
She's in Avon, Indiana. Well, here, I'll pass you over to Brendan. We'll pass you right down the line here. I'm sure Brendan has some questions for you.
Hey, Cindy, quick question. So like Dan said, we have a director here. What we're trying to get is just like a general storyline about your life that we could pitch to maybe put this together as like a TV show or something.
Oh, yeah. Would this be a real TV show? I think it'd be great.
It's got potential for it, baby. What do you think would be the most interesting
Factoid.
story to make a movie about? Like whether it be the UFO stuff,
Men in Black.
the Men in Black.
I think it'd be both. And then we met Dogman, of course. We've had others. Can I tell you one more story that you haven't heard?
I would say give us your best story that could be a movie, and I'm going to pass you to the director himself so that he can hear this out.
Okay, thank you. Love you guys.
Love you too.
Love you
Hi,
too.
Cindy.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. I'm excited to hear your story.
Okay, here we go. Now, you believe in time travel, do you? That time travel is possible?
Yes.
Well, why don't you take a spin off with Be Back in the Time? Just say, oh, we're back in time, and like, the mid-1970s. My brother was a little boy, and he had just moved to a new neighborhood with our parents. You know, we had just gotten a new place to live. And anyway, what was bothering Brian was he didn't have anybody in the neighborhood to play with. And so, but anyway, we went to the shopping center, and my mom said, Brian, what do you want? And Brian was telling Mom what he was wanting her to buy him. And so Brian had a fear of mannequinitis. Mannequinitis is a fear of mannequins. Children have it, they think they're going to come true. You know, they're going to become a real creature, but they are true. So, but anyway, Brian was at the shopping center, and what happened was they went off and left him by himself. He was sitting on a bench, and he had his blue knapsack, and he took out from his backpack, he took out several radio devices he wanted to listen to, and it was safe to leave a kid alone. And so while he was waiting on a bench, he looked behind him, and lo and behold, there was a mannequin. And Brian said she looked as real as day to him.
Classic mannequin.
And you know what happened? Brian said that he was afraid that she had come to life, and he had seen her actually come to life. And while he was sitting there, he had his eyes covered. And the next thing he knew, he heard a strange woman's voice. And he looked at the woman, and it was a mannequin. He had seen her come to life. And now she was sitting next to him. She was whistling and trying to be as annoying as possible.
Cindy,
Yeah.
who are we going to get to play Brian?
Anybody you want.
I'm thinking Tom Holland. How old? How old was Brian?
He was about 6 years old.
6 years old? Okay.
Tom Holland could play a 6-year-old.
Yeah. Tom Cruise? Do you like Tom Cruise?
Oh, you're silly.
Do you like Tom Cruise?
Oh, yes, I'm crazy about him.
What's your favorite Tom Cruise film?
Oh, any of them.
Yeah, but you got to name one.
Mission Impossible.
Vanilla Sky?
Well, really, I really can't.
Mannequin Impossible.
Mannequin Impossible.
I just think he's just a great guy.
He's a great guy. He's a Scientologist. So he would probably not really be into the whole mannequins coming to life thing.
Ask her if she gives her UFO pitch.
Do you have any UFO stories that could be turned into a film? Anything with Brian in particular?
Yes,
A quick one.
Yes, I do. You want to hear it?
Can you do it in 2 minutes?
Well, I'm going to try.
So one thing that's like really important in order for us to pitch these ideas to these big shot Hollywood executives that is it has to be a short and sweet pitch. So you got to be able to kind of sell them on what's called a log line, which is, there's a family and they forget their son at home and he has to fight off, robbers over Christmas. You got to make it kind of short and sweet. Can you do that with one of the UFO stories?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Action.
Well, okay, this is back in early 1970. My dad was in a car, and also what happened was he was caught in a time warp by the UFO overhead, and when the last thing he remembers before he passed out in the UFO was right overhead, and there was an alien looking in through the car window at him, and Dad passed out.
Now.
That sounds pretty good.
That is.
She stayed consistent with that story.
I'm going to hand it back to one of our hosts so he can say something to you.
Dissect this, yeah. That's a real, yeah.
That is you've stayed very consistent with that story. You are the Bob Lazar of the South Jersey Bad Boys.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I don't want to take up too much of your time. We've talked a lot about UFOs. Do you have anything else that you wanted to talk about just before we let you go?
Well, I've seen Bigfoot. I've seen it all. I even had a lady vampire, because I'm psychic. I had a lady vampire.
We got to get it just briefly. Let's get into the vampire thing. What happened with a vampire? You've experienced.
She said her name was Isadora, and she visited me every Halloween until I moved here to the retirement home because I don't have family anymore. But she used to want it and get it.
So a chance it was somebody dressed up like a vampire? Because it was Halloween?
She was a real vampire.
How do you know she was real?
She can't penetrate the security at the nursing home.
Kill me.
She wanted to kill you?
Yeah, she wouldn't get inside our house, And anyway, every Halloween she would try to visit, and I finally had to get a silver crucifix to get rid of her.
Good move. You didn't have any garlic bread, so you went with the crucifix.
No. Are we really talking about a TV show here?
Well, we're going to float it out to some people, and we're going to see what comes back. No promises, obviously, but you're just such an interesting character, and we love talking to you. But look, we got
to get to a meeting.
We got to get to a meeting.
What show are we on tonight?
South Jersey Bad Boys, your favorite show.
Oh, thank you.
Can she sing the song so that we have it on the record?
Yeah.
Do you want to give us the South Jersey Bad Boys jingle? You know it.
South Jersey boys.
Yeah, you
All right,
nailed
that's
it.
a perfect place to end it. Thanks, Cindy. We love you. Have a good night.
Oh, I hope I get on a show. Will I be on TV on a new podcast?
Yep.
We're going to do everything we can. But you have a great night, my lady.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Yeah.
We got to stop calling her, dude.
Yeah, it's getting kind of
I
sad.
feel bad,
Well,
but it's also
she's reaching
fun.
out to us.
She's leaving voicemails.
It's
or
fun.
voicemail.
She's,
She's
What's
having a
odd?
good time.
Obviously, she's out of her goddamn mind, but she stays consistent with these stories.
That story was exactly what she told us 5 weeks ago.
She keeps telling the same ones over and over again, but
Did you hear about Brian and the mannequins?
yeah,
Not the
mannequins.
Oh,
new.
okay.
The mannequin is
In the
new.
back of the car in 1970 with a UFO overhead. We've heard
Yeah.
that.
And she gives
There
very
is a
specific
movie
details.
called Mannequin about somebody at a department store and the
So
mannequin
she
comes
might
to
just be
life.
watching movies and
She's got a set at home and she's just watching what's ever coming on the TV. Yeah.
But yeah, we should probably stop calling her.
Yeah, she just likes to air out her stories. We hear them out. I think it's very entertaining. The comments that come in on those on YouTube is pretty incredible. People
Yeah,
comment like,
she's-
"Get her on the program next week." And
She's the best
Yeah.
caller we've obviously ever had, but
Yeah.
I think they should make a movie about a woman who just calls into local podcasts and actually gets a movie made about her.
But she actually is haunting them, and she's like really coming through the airwaves and fucking with us. Can we make that happen?
We could be fucked. Dude. Anyways, let's not harp too much on Cindy, but Michael, thanks so much for coming on the pod, dude. Do you have any shit you want to plug?
You can go to my website, michaelryanfagan.com.
Hell yeah.
We'll link it in the descript.
Nothing else to really plug. I'm happy to be here, even though I invited myself on
Dude, we
2
were
days ago, 48 hours.
We were stoked to even wanted to do it.
You know what's cool about being here is now I can listen to the other episodes and I'll be like, I feel like I'm in the seat right here.
You're right
This
there
is
on the-
where Rob
That's where Mr. Rob Cody
Cody
Cruz,
sat right here.
He did.
The man himself.
Maybe Cindy one day.
Cindy's going to be here.
Hold
We can
on.
only hope.
I'm just throwing this out there. What do you guys think about finding where Cindy is, going on the road, doing a podcast from the nursing home?
Indiana. We got to take a road trip to Indiana.
We are going to drive to wherever the callers are coming in from. If it's Avon, Indiana, it's right. I actually looked it up a few weeks ago when she told me. Same place, name of the retirement home,
She's
outside of
consistent.
South Bend, Indiana.
Okay.
So
Road
we're going to make
trip?
it happen.
All right.
Let's
go there.
document the road trip.
We'll pod on the road from a Motel
I'll call
6.
in
Yeah.
when you guys are there.
Yes.
Yeah.
We'll come full circle.
No, You're not getting out of this. You're coming on the road trip. my
Yeah, we're staying at the same Red Roof
Yeah.
Inn in the middle of Indiana
Love it.
together.
One bed, 3 guys, dude.
She even knows the jingle. Best podcast.
Well, she kind of remixed it to.
She was pretty close, though.
She was
She-
close.
she nailed
You can
it.
AI it in there to work.
You're damn right.
yeah.
What do you got happening, Brendan?
Not much. I'll be at Helium tomorrow, Helium Comedy Club in Philly. I'll actually be there Thursday night too for Nightcap, and then I'll be at New York Comedy Club Stamford, Connecticut
Ooh.
next Wednesday.
A lot of traffic. A lot of traffic in
Yes, dude,
Stanford.
takes
Take
me
the train.
Fucking forever to get
Take the
there.
train. Take the train.
I got a lot of South Jersey shows, some North Jersey ones coming up soon too, but all over, doing a birthday party, doing a VFW in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. It's going to be one hell of a November, so I'll share some stuff about them on the social medias. But
Is that the one I'm doing with you?
Were you doing? I don't know.
No, we have something on calendar for some sort of show, or maybe I just forgot to take it off there. We'll talk about it later.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out right now.
Right now. We'll get right down to it.
Which
right now.
VFW are you guys going to be at?
I have no idea.
The Camp Hill or the Harrisburg VFW.
It could be any.
Yeah,
it's going to be a blast.
Yeah,
Maybe I'll do my first show at that one too.
Yeah, give you 5 minutes
open.
up top.
If there's any place to try it, a local VFW,
those people will tell you whether they enjoy you or not. That's
fuck
for sure.
outta here.
Yeah, they just throw beer bottles at
oh
you.
man,
Hell
Fuck
yeah.
All right, cool.
We'll do it up. Well, thanks for coming on, good
Dude,
sir.
Thanks for having me.
man.
Yeah, absolutely. The director's cut here. Lab
What do
week.
you do? You just end?
Yeah.
You just
We
say.
just end.
You
That's
go,
it,
Do
right
you
here.
sing again?
No,
We
we
can.
can. We should close it out. We'll end on the jingle and then a little fucking clap. Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
So,
We got it.
okay.